The Stamina Warden is one of my all-time favorite solo builds in ESO, and it's now stronger than ever thanks to subclassing. With this update, we can now add even more critical chance and critical damage, coming near the crit damage cap, which is absolutely insane for solo builds. Plus, we've got more passive healing and sustain than ever, meaning you almost never run out of resources on this build, and you heal back to max health almost passively. Plus, did I mention we are a full-on Beastmaster with 2 bears, a flying griffin, beetles, flies, and yes, even a little green jellyfish. So if you're ready to unlock the ultimate Beastmaster build for ESO, you're definitely in the right place. Let's jump right into it. All right, everybody, here we are back on the Stamina Warden. Time to update one of my favorite builds, the solo Beastmaster setup, now for subclassing. So let's go ahead and jump right into the buff stats here. Of course, we have a lot more options once we're fully in combat, but just so you can kind of see the baseline numbers here. 13k max magicka, 25k max health, 30k max stamina. Solid stamina recovery, it's actually a lot higher thanks to our abilities. Weapon and spell damage will be fully over 5,000. Weapon critical when we're fully buffed with all of our subclassing skills, closer to 60% on this build. And we do have very solid armor and defensive options here, including some good damage shields, but about 23k spell and physical resistance. Now this is the Stamina Warden build, so of course we have 64 points into stamina. For this particular setup, we are using the Thief Mundus just to maximize that crit chance. In terms of our food buff, you do want something with stamina, max health, and stamina recovery. So the best option for that would probably be Artaeum Takeaway Broth. Can be a little bit expensive though, so if you want to save some gold, just use Dubious Cameron Throne. It's almost exactly the same thing. In terms of potions, I've got the Tri-Stat potions right now for more difficult content, but max stamina potions are totally fine. We've worked it out where we have both our Major Brutality and Sorcery, and also Major Prophecy and Savagery for that crit chance, so all the buffs are taken care of. You can do basically any potions that you want. In terms of the race here, also very flexible on the Stamina Warden. I am running the Nord race currently just for a little bit more defensive bonuses, so you get some more max health, you get the max stamina, you get the ultimate generation, which is very nice, and then also extra physical and spell resistance. This makes the build feel a lot more tanky, but you can go all in on damage as well, including races like Orc, for example. That would be a great offensive option if you want to deal a little bit more damage. But that's it, I think, in terms of the basics. So let's go ahead and jump into the sets now. We've got one new set, at least, on this build, and it's the new crafted set from Solstice. It's called Tideborn Wildstalker, and this one is so good on the Warden class, you guys. Not only do we get really good 2 through 4 piece bonuses for solo content especially, but also we're dealing 12% bonus damage for our direct damage skills. So, and that does count for, the majority of the skills on this build, our hard-hitting skills especially. Think about Deep Fissure from the Warden class, right? We're also using the two-hander for some pretty hard-hitting abilities there as well. Even our subclassing skills are going to be able to make use of this bonus, so it is really powerful. You will feel the difference. And the nice thing about this too is it's crafted, right? So you can craft this in any weapons and armor that you want. Obviously, I went for the two-hander up front here, my front bar two-hander. I went with the greatsword just for a little bit of extra spell and weapon damage because of the Nord race, but you could use the maul if you want a little bit more penetration, so your skills do more true damage. You do want an absorb stamina enchant though, that will help you out with sustain. And you do want the precise trait, that 7.2% weapon and spell critical is so good on this build. You definitely want to keep that. But do remember the two-handed weapon's going to count for 2 set bonuses, and then we just have 3 more on the body or the jewelry, your choice. But I do like putting it on the body because I can play with different armor weights. You could use a light waist, for example. That way you're not losing out on too much armor, but you can get the light armor passives, and you can also benefit from Undaunted Metal. That gives you up to 6% bonus resources when you're using all 3 armor types. So we've got heavy, we've got medium, and we've got light on this build. And then I believe I just have the Tideborn gloves and then the legs. So 3 pieces on the body and 2 pieces for our weapon. That's how I'm running that one. For our second 5-piece set, we're sticking with the nature theme on this one. A favorite set of mine, Griffin's Reprisal. This has a really cool 5-piece bonus. Let me actually swap because it's going to proc basically on our back bar. So when we deal critical damage, Griffin's Reprisal, it's basically a synergy, but we can use it as well as an ally can use it, and it inflicts bleed damage on nearby enemies. And the coolest thing is it summons a Griffin, which you'll see in combat. Makes an awesome sound as it flies by as well. So it really just fits with the animal theme. Now this is a dungeon set, so it will take some farming. It's also from Coral Airy, which is a DLC dungeon. So I'll have an alternate option for you as well. But as far as how you set this up, back bar bow. Again, two-handed weapon is going to count for 2 pieces here. And then just 3 more pieces either on the body or the jewelry, whatever you happen to pick up. Currently, I've got the boots. The Griffin boots there is piece number 3. And then I've got a necklace and a ring. For your jewelry here, you do want weapon damage glyphs. With the Bloodthirsty trait, you can transmute those for a little bit of extra damage. So that's our second 5-piece set. Like I said, it's very thematic. It fits the theme of the Beastmaster style Warden build. We don't have it yet. That's totally fine. Something that's a little bit easier to get, which is almost the same like in terms of damage output, is going to be Briarheart. This comes from the Zone of Hrothgar, and it is tradable, so you can find this on Guild Traders as well. 5 pieces of Briarheart is going to give you a nice bonus to weapon and spell damage. It's also going to heal you back on critical strikes, and it summons like these glowing vines, so it does kind of fit the theme of this build as well. So that's what I would sub in there if you don't have the Griffin's Reprisal set. Now, what else? Going on with the animal theme, we do have Selene as the monster set. This, of course, is going to summon the Spirit Bear that's going to do a lot of damage that scales off your weapon and spell damage. So it's going to go much higher when we're fully buffed, obviously. So this is a base game monster set. It's pretty easy to get, but I do recommend you use medium armor for this one. So I've got the medium helmet, medium shoulders here with the stamina enchants, and then divines as the trait. That's what you want for the monster set. And then you can see I'm also doing a separate heavy chest piece in this case because I am backbarring my weapon. It kind of frees up those slots for me. So that means I can use a 1-piece chest like Armor of the Trainee, for example. This just has a nice 1-piece health bonus. Makes the build a lot more tanky. And also you can run it in heavy armor so you get the extra resistances. Take advantage of the Undaunted Metal passive, right, by running all 3 types of armor. And yeah, we can still run max stamina on this one though, and then divines as the trait. So that covers pretty much all the armor and weapons, with the one last thing left over, which is going to be our mythic. Now, I did want to try something different on this build. And so a new mythic that we have access to with Solstice, if you've picked up the Solstice DLC, is this ring called Monomyth Reforged. And what it does is pretty interesting. While you're in combat on your primary weapon, you gain Major Force, which is a huge buff. That's 20%, I believe, bonus critical damage. So when we're on our front bar on this build, we're almost at the crit damage cap, and that's while playing solo. That's pretty incredible, even on a Nord, for example, which has no crit damage bonuses. That's because we're combining the Warden's crit damage bonuses, we're combining medium armor crit damage bonuses, 20% from Major Force, we have Minor Force as well. So this build really hits like a truck thanks to this Monomyth Reforged mythic. Now you also get Minor Berserk, which is pretty nice. You get that as a Warden from running the Bird of Prey skill, but I actually didn't have room for that on the skill bar because of subclassing. So you get that back, which is nice, but you do get a debuff. So you get Minor Vulnerability on the front bar. Now, kind of running the Nord here, I really don't feel any different. Like, this feels the same as any solo build to me in terms of survivability, so it doesn't seem like a big downside. What might be more of a downside to you, though, is the back bar. I see this as more of like a PvP back bar bonus. It gives you major protection and minor vitality, so that's good if you need to like heal up, but we're doing like passive healing for the most part, and minor timidity that actually reduces your ultimate generation. So it does sound bad, but don't worry, for this build, you're on your back bar for like a couple of seconds. Most of the time you're on your front bar, so you really don't notice it. And yeah, you get some extra protection and extra healing while you're on the back bar. So this is an option. I have a guide for this. I'll have it linked below. And I picked this up in less than 2 hours, I want to say. Most of the leads come from either delves or public dungeons. There's one group dungeon, but you don't even need to finish it. It comes from the second boss of the group dungeon, and you can solo it or do it with a companion. So it was very easy to get this mythic. Just something to think about if you don't have it. Obviously, if you want like a ton of healing, you could use something like Ring of the Pale Order instead. though I don't find it necessary on the Warden because we have more than enough healing with this setup. So yeah, check it out. Check the link below for how to get the leads for that. It's pretty good mythic, and it doesn't take very long to get. But that, again, is the setup. If you have any questions, make sure to check out the link for the written guide. I'll have that down below in the description and the pinned comment. Over there, I'll have all the sets, all the alternate gear sets that I went over, as well as the weights, the traits, the glyph, everything else that you need to make this work. Let's talk about the skills next, and especially subclassing. So for this build, obviously we're starting as the Stamina Wardens. The Warden Animal Companion skill line is very good still for solo content. It's one of my favorite ways to play as a solo build. You have great skills all around. Probably the best is Deep Fisher for soloing on any build. Like regardless of what class you are, you can pick this up. Get a massive 10k armor reduction on enemies in front of you due to Deep Fisher. So that combines Major Breach and Minor Breach in one skill. It's pretty insane. It also does really good damage when this crits. It hits very hard. And it costs Magicka, so it helps a lot with our sustain as a stamina build. Other great skills we have here. Growing Swarm. This is basically minor vulnerability. It's an AoE dot, so it really helps with killing groups of enemies faster. We've got Bull Netch, of course, which is major brutality and sorcery for us, plus a lot of stamina sustain. You don't really see this on the stat sheet so much. It doesn't show up at all, in fact, but you will feel the difference when it's on or off. Like I said, we do have Bird of Prey from the skill line, but you don't need it if you're running Monomyth because you get Minor Berserk from that as well. And yeah, the ultimate is very fun. It fits the Beastmaster Warden theme here. You got the Wild Guardian. Keep in mind that you do need to double bar this as it is a permanent pet. But that's it. You know, in terms of passives, they're pretty good as well. You get more ultimate generation. You get Flourish for the recovery and advanced species. You can see we're getting 10% bonus crit damage. Another really nice feature of this build. So that's our main skill line, though we are not running any class scripts for scribing, and we are also not running any class sets from Infinite Archive. So you can make this build work on any of the classes that I'm going to showcase here. So just keep that in mind. Next up, let's talk about another damage skill line, which is going to come from the Nightblade class. I really just wanted to maximize my crit chance on this build, which is really good for soloing. You guys know about this already. Basically, the passives from Assassination are so good. You get crit chance, you get more sustain from Executioner, even more crit chance from pressure points, and an additional 10% critical damage as long as we have one Nightblade skill slotted. And so that's all we're doing. We're slotting one skill on the front bar, one skill on the back bar. On the front, I've got Killer's Blade for a nice single target execute. This is very good when it comes to boss fights. This thing, while solo, you're critting upwards of 70k on a single Killer's Blade, so it does add a lot in terms of your damage. Then on the back bar, we're going to run Merciless Resolve. This skill, as you guys know, is probably getting updated for the next patch. We've seen some elements of this already on the public test server. I don't know what the final form of this skill is going to be yet, but chances are it's still going to be something you would want to run, especially for solo content because the damage is so high and you get a burst heal component. Plus, the passives for Assassination are just too good not to have on both skill bars. So yeah, we'll see where this skill lands. I will most likely still be using it depending on how it's changed. Now, why am I not using the Stamina Morph? Technically, the Stamina Morph holds more weapon and spell damage with the stacks, but running more Magicka skills does help when you're soloing in terms of your sustain. You want a good mix. You know, about 50-60% stamina skills, and the rest you want to be Magicka skills. That really helps. So that's why I'm using Merciless Resolve here instead of the Stamina Morph, which is called Relentless Focus. But that's it. You know, you can also run the ultimate here if you're not a fan of the Bear Pet. Sometimes the Bear Pet does die in more difficult content, like if you're trying to solo a vet dungeon or a really challenging world boss. Sometimes they'll turn towards the pet and just, you know, kill the bear in a few seconds. So if you're finding it more difficult to use the bear, then you can definitely run Soul Harvest on the front bar. It's a really good offensive ultimate. You could just run something like Dawnbreaker on the back bar or the bow ultimate if you want more bow skills. Then our third subclassing skill line is going to be more about defense and sustain. When you think about soloing, you want a good mix of damage skills, but you also want survivability. You want healing and you want defense. So best option I came up with for that is going to be Restoring Light from the Templar class. This skill line is all about defense and it's all about healing. It's really, really nice. Restoring focus especially, great for stamina builds. You stand in this, you get bonus healing. Even if you're not standing in it, you still get the stamina and the armor buff. Don't forget, if you guys are soloing, you do want an armor buff. And so a lot of these offensive skill lines like Animal Companions, Assassination, you don't have access to an armor buff with those. So you want to think about when you're soloing, if you're doing subclassing, what's a third skill line I can run that's going to give me major resolve? And so a really good one, again, Restoring Light. This gives you that major resolve, the stamina sustain, and the healing. Other skills are optional. You can use Repentance for a bit of extra recovery. This also gives you a burst heal and a burst of stamina based on consuming corpses. So it's very nice for grinding experience or moving through dungeons quickly. And you can also use Extended Ritual, or you can use the offensive morph of this if you prefer. That's called Ritual of Retribution. That's a very nice AoE Magicka skill. So yep, that does it in terms of the skill lines. In terms of what the skill bars look like we said, we're running Killer's Blade. This is our front bar, two-handed weapon. We've got Deep Fissure, Growing Swarm, and then a couple of two-handed abilities. Let me talk about these. So Brawler is just obvious. If you're doing very hard solo content, you do want some type of damage shield. And the nice thing about Brawler is it does increase in size the more targets that you hit with it. So it's very good for soloing. And then along with that, obviously you want some type of DPS skill, some type of spammable ability. And so the two options for that is number one, Wrecking Blow, super strong ability. This gives you Major Berserk, which increases your damage done by 10 seconds. So you'll actually get more DPS with Wrecking Blow as your main spammable, but it is single target. So it's really good just for like soloing world bosses that don't have a lot of ads. For more general use though, if you have access to Scribing, which everybody will have very soon, if not already when this video goes live, the Smash ability from Scribing is amazing. This does cone damage basically, so it is AoE, and you can put all kinds of really great effects on this. Damage type is up to you. I did poison damage. You could also do like physical damage, whatever you want there. I did the healing script, so it heals me back for 36% of the damage done. So it's almost as good as a skill like Puncturing Sweep, for example, but it's a stamina skill from the two-handed skill lines. Pretty great. And then I have Major Savagery and Major Prophecy. But then we've got the Wild Guardian Ultimate. Let's talk about the back bar very quickly. Our boss is going to make use of Endless Hail that comes from the bow skill line. This is really just here, you guys, to proc our back bar glyph, that extra weapon and spell damage enchant. That's all we really need it for. Then we've got Barb Trap, which is a great single target damage over time that comes from the Fighters Guild skill line. And that's giving us the very important Minor Force buff. So that's increasing our critical damage by 10%. So you want to make sure you keep that up as much as possible as well. Over here on the back bar is also where we have that Assassination skill, Merciless Resolve. Remember, you can use that when you need the damage and the heal. And then we have Restoring Focus from the Templar skill line. Remember, that's our armor buff. Stay in it for more increased healing if you want. And then we have Bullnetch from the Warden class. That's our damage ability and sustain. And then our Wild Guardian needs to be double barred. So that is the setup for both front bar and back bar. Again, if you have any questions or you want to see the different options I talked about, check the written guide down below. I'll have everything explained there. All right, in terms of rotation, I tried to make it as simple as possible. On your back bar, it's really just casting those dots, your Endless Hail, your Barb Trap, setting down your two buffs, and you can see Griffin is already proccing right there on the back bar. In terms of the front bar, you have Deep Fissure. I usually cast that first. Make sure to use Smash to do proc your crit damage if you are using that version. Apply Growing Swarm, and then usually you can recast Deep Fissure before bar swapping back. Okay, so here I am again on the back bar. Griffin is ready. You can use your Merciless Resolve now on the back bar since it's stacked up if you want to. Let's refresh those. Refresh Deep Fissure or Swarm. You want to keep the Smash going if you have the crit damage bonus on there. You want to keep that up as much as possible. And then back to the back bar. Now, obviously, you want to use your Bear Pet as much as possible. You can do that as soon as it reaches 75 ultimates. Now, obviously, I'm not taking damage. If I was, I would be using Brawler a lot more often, just for the defense there. So really, I'm just doing this basic rotation until I get close to execute range, around 30%. Here's where I can start doing Killer's Blade. And I'll just refresh the buffs here really quick. Continue Killer's Blade until the enemy dies. That's basically it. Before I forget, if you are interested in doing the scribing system here with Smash, going with the poison damage script for our focus script. For the signature script, Leeching Thirst is what I recommend. So good for this ability due to the extra healing when you're playing solo. And then for the affix script, there's a lot of really great options here where you can mix things up. You could run Minor Force if you didn't want to run Barb Trap, for example. But I've gone with Savagery and Prophecy because that really is a necessary buff for any type of build. All right, let's talk about champion points. As usual, you'll find this broken down on the written guide by 300, 600, 900, and 1200 champion points. So no matter what level you're at, there'll be something there to help you out. But just in terms of the slotted stars, on the green tree, we've got Steed's Blessing for the extra movement speed. And then continuing on with Master Gatherer, Gifted Rider, and Warmount. For the blue tree, we have a lot of really good options. I do kind of change these around based on, different setups. If I'm using more single target, more AoE damage, but just as kind of a general setup, you can start here with Fighting Finesse. That'll help you max out that crit damage. And then you can follow that up with Biting Aura for the AoE. Mastered Arms for direct damage, which again is huge with this build, especially with Tideborn, and then Deadly Aim here is going to help some of those single target abilities. Also, do not forget, especially if you're playing solo, over in Staving Death, you have some really good passives, especially Preparation for 10% damage reduction. Finally, in the red tree, pretty basic setup here, honestly. Rejuvenation for the extra recovery, Fortified for the extra armor, Boundless Vitality for the extra health, and then you'll most likely want to pick up Bloody Renewal for the extra stamina recovery. Last but not least, if you're curious about the outfit style, this is actually a costume, I believe. Yep, this one is called the Queen's Eye Spymaster. Hey everybody, just a quick note that if you're liking the new subclassing builds for ESO, I'm also releasing even more for our Tier 2 channel members called the Elite Squad, like our brand new solo subclassing Stamina Templar build called the Golden Saint. This one is a ton of fun to play as well, with massive damage, self-healing, and survivability. Great for soloing dungeon bosses, world bosses, even some trials bosses. It's amazing. Plus, we also have our new subclassing Druid build. Also a ton of fun to play. This one feels basically like a brand new class in the Elder Scrolls Online. It's pretty epic. Members of our Tier 2 Elite Squad can unlock these builds right now, along with dozens of other members-only builds and guides. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, it really is the best way to do that because you get a truckload of bonus content, not to mention early access to videos and members-only Discord. Just make sure to select the Elite Squad option if you're interested. And to get started, just click on the join button down below or the membership link in the description to see our complete library of members-only builds and guides that we've built up over many years. And huge shout out, as always, to our channel members who make this channel possible. I truly could not do what I do without you, so thanks again. Thanks to all of you for watching this video. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next one.